Oh, good morning, Doug.
Hello.
We are talking about Christmas. How's that for starting off a Friday morning?
Got an invitation from a good friend of mine to go have dinner in December. And here we are talking about Christmas. I love a nativity scene. It could be one that plugs in or a live one. Just love a nativity scene. Could be one of those silhouette ones.
Oh, you like those?
I like them all.
I got I don't want to brag. I but I think I can. Kristen Tyner was little baby Jesus, and like they were holding her up and the star was behind her. And we woke up to the Indianapolis Star Christmas Day. So she was born in 97. So Christmas 97, she was literally 2/3 of the front page of the Indianapolis Star.
How does that even happen?
She was in a Christmas pageant and the star photographer took it and it showed up. And so she was baby Jesus.
Way to go.
Kristen Tyner.
Way to go.
You guys, she will, I think, offer autographs if you're curious.
Do you have a map up for a reason?
That's my VPN, Doug.
Oh, man.
That can jump into our conversation from last week about scams and security. A VPN is a good way to protect your identity, and it is a common part of my day when
What's a quick commercial on what a VPN is?
Virtual private network. The best I can tell you is your device sends out, like a phone number, an ID of you, and it sends it out where you're at. And a VPN, from best I can tell, disguises where your device is and where it's coming from. So like let me go back and pull
One of the benefits to working with Keith and y'all being clients or just friends is, do you know that Keith interviewed with the NSA? That comment right there alone, now we have a whole bunch of people watching this. But yeah, Keith actually interviewed with the NSA. So he's that kind of guy. He's always thinking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so this I can at this moment, any one of these blue dots.
I love the trees. I'm sorry.
Oh, the trees. Those are the cell towers in Canada. They make them look like trees. I just seen that.
I love
it. They do it out in Portland and Washington. So got these big cell towers, and they put these little things on trying to make them look like trees. Well, you're not fooling anybody, but anyway,
sorry.
They look just like that. But I can click on any one of these dots, and all of a sudden, that's where I'm broadcasting from. So right now, I'm coming out of Chicago. I'm connected to Chicago.
I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
Hey, speaking of, if you didn't catch last week's show, you might get on the YouTube channel, Gimbal Financial's YouTube channel, and check it out. We had the opportunity to learn from a Fisher's police officer about security and cyber threats. And man, I got a migraine right in the middle of that. And I lost focus, but it's worth checking out because it was a great interview, and we learned a couple steps to be safe. And the first thing is just give us a call anytime you see anything that comes across your screen and it's related to your accounts or not. Just give us a call, and we'll always be quick to help you walk through it.
Are those migraines contagious, Doug? Because I got one Saturday.
Did you really?
I did. I was up in beautiful Muncie, Indiana, and it really messed me up. My recall was slow from it. I couldn't. Caleb was sitting next to me, and he thought I was having really special issues, but the migraine hit me right before we went in the restaurant. So
I've only had 2 in my life, but they're horrible. My sympathy for any of you guys who deal with those on a regular basis.
I was in a really bad car wreck in 2016, and this is financial advice. So, and I was stopped at a stoplight, and the car didn't slow down behind me and just plowed into the back of me and kind of gave me whiplash. And I just had a lot of migraines. It took my body probably 2 or 3 years to heal from that. And every once in a while, whether it's the barometric pressure or sinuses or something, will kick one in. I was using one of those jabbing shots to try to tune them down there for a while, but I really haven't had any problems with them much for the last few years. So I'm multitasking here. They got uh, there's a lady named Mary Bauer that I think I'm going to try to get as a guest uh, for the future. And
I'm really excited about this.
yeah, hopefully. So the in the olden days when you would travel, they would put a newspaper by your door. This is like years ago.
You stayed at fine hotels.
Well, the like
The
I
Red Roof Inn.
don't want to.
The Night's Inn. We didn't get that at the Night's Inn.
Well, where this is going, Doug, I don't want to brag or anything. Is I stayed in hotels where you got to pick which newspaper,
Man.
and so one day, what I would try to do, this could be a little political, is I would try 3 or 4 times a year to read the New York Times.
Yeah.
Because I don't think like New Yorkers, and so I was trying to think better, like about what everybody around the world, because I don't have to agree with you politically. I don't have to agree with you on spiritual. I don't have to agree with you on much, but I try to understand what other people are thinking. And so 3 or 4 times a year, I read in the day the New York Times, maybe twice a year now, just to see what's going on the other side of the planet. And there was an article about the Evansville, Indiana Museum on this one in 2012. And because I'm from Evansville, I just love the idea of knowing what's going on in my hometown. And so Mary Bauer is the former director of the Evansville Museum. And the Evansville Museum made the 2012 September-ish, maybe, New York Times. And if you're in Evansville, you live in Evansville, and you haven't been to the Evansville Museum recently and you need to go, they have a Picasso there that is probably worth, it's something worth what somebody would pay for it, but I would guess it's probably worth $100 million, which
It's fantastic. I love it.
I can't imagine the whole museum is worth 10% of that. So
Great.
yeah, so I want to see if we can get her to join us and talk a little bit about the Evansville Picasso. If you've never been to Evansville, there's some nice hotels downtown. The downtown area has been renovated a lot. There's a river walk, but the museum's literally on the river there. And there's also a landing ship tank. LST was designed by the US for World War II. They were designed that we have more soldiers than you do, Germany. We're going to just plow these things onto the beach. They're never coming back. And we're just going to overwhelm you with soldiers. The LST, I think the only one left on the planet is in Evansville, Indiana. So there's several things you can do in downtown Evansville, but the Picasso, it's a great story. I'd love to have her tell the story, because I'll tell it if we can't get her, because it's a really interesting story. But yeah, that's on my to-do list.
I've never purchased art as an investment, but I like the idea behind it. I like the idea behind it because it's a legacy thing where you are a caretaker of a tangible piece that will be passed down and viewed for generations and generations. And it's just a cool thing. There's a lady in Upland, Indiana, who donated her part of her art collection to Taylor University. And when I go up there, I always stop in and see the art collection just because it's so beautiful. It's great to look at, and I would imagine it's worth quite a bit of money.
I would imagine that the Evansville Art Museum their art collection at the museum there is probably pretty valuable. When I walked through to see the Picasso, I walked through and just looked at all the art, and I'm not as trained in the arts. I did take art appreciation, so I have an appreciation for it. But I remember in the days when you had local businesses, some of the entrepreneurs from my childhood had donated their art collection to the museum.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Very cool.
Yeah,
very
to see
cool.
their name on the donation and a little bit of their history, which was really fascinating to me. But
cheers to the capitalist.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some Westgate hanging behind your head there.
I sure do. I love it.
And we've got a Jeannie Hilfiger over there on the wall. I don't know who our bear and bull are. But Gimbal Financial is situated in the midst of Carmel, Indiana's arts district.
Yes,
And
it is.
so we cheer that on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I got on that rampage, but uh, I was uh, I was telling a friend in Evansville that I'm mesmerized with the story of their Picasso, and he had somebody call me yesterday, so I probably had a half-hour conversation yesterday about it, and he couldn't answer all my questions, and so that's where Mary Bauer came into the equation. He said he'd have her call me.
Speaking of art, you want to put up one of those charts that we like to look at? I mean, this is art to me right here. I love to look at this art several times a day.
I would say it is the
That would be a beautiful painting to have on your wall right there.
I mean, we have one like it in the Gimbal kitchen, don't we?
We do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we won't charge you if you want to come in and take a look at it. You are welcome anytime to come look at that.
So Keith, a couple weeks ago, this coming Monday, I was awake Sunday night, preparing for a procedure, and I noticed that the Japanese market was halted. And anytime a stock market is halted, that should grab our attention. That means there's a lot of selling going on, or there's something going on that's just abnormal. And we wake up to a pretty bad start for Monday's stock market. And when we put this screen up in a second, you'll see the line. And we've rallied right back to it and then some. And so the most beautiful thing about this picture of the stock market is uh, no one knows what it's going to do. And we could try and guess, we could try and get ahead of it, or we could just listen to it and then do the best we can. And that's what I like about the stock market is it just doesn't care where you're from. It doesn't care what your education is. It doesn't care what your world views are. It's going to do its thing. And so it's to be respected.
So the fifth is right here, right? January 5th, right here. Not January. August 5th is right here. This is that day you were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had a big drop in the market that day. But really, that might have just been the end of the sell-off. It's hard to tell, Doug.
Yeah,
But like
it is.
clearly, we've been in a downtrend for several weeks now, and there's been some buyers coming in here, just not in large volume.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been great to see the buyers come in this week. Um, and then Keith, would you zoom out to a weekly?
I will.
I like to zoom out to a weekly just to get a better perspective of how things are going and not be so in tune to, just the minutes of the day. But on the weekly chart, really, if you take a look at this, things are still pretty good. And came down to the 200 day, touched through it for a week, and then rallied right back up. So I'm expecting to see lots of up and downs and prices that will be all over the place. We have a lot going on right now. There's talks about recession, interest rates, who knows with the presidential race. And so there's just a lot of risks in the air right now.
Well, the a challenge is how do you get information, right? Like how do you get information today? How do you know what information is true? And that's really been a challenge throughout history. Back in the late 1800s, the publicly traded companies didn't even have to announce their earnings. They didn't have to report anything. They just said, "Here's our stock, like it or love it, leave it." And so the idea of information has been a consistent component of driving stock prices. And I think we've just seen in the last 3 or 4 years a good amount of censorship by the large media corporate, not media, but the tech corporations. And so really knowing what is true is probably going to be harder and harder than ever before. I think the idea that artificial intelligence can make things look true that aren't true, and that there really aren't people offering a lot of clear understanding of both sides of any topic anymore. It really makes this time, I think, as important to be a critical thinker as ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Living a quiet life is pretty good right now. There's
It's
a ton of noise out there.
it is. It's I wrote for the September anchor. I wrote a little bit about journalism and having that objective point of view, because there's just a lot of weird things that are being published out there. I personally quit getting my news via the television probably 20 years ago, because I knew it wasn't the healthiest way for me to process information. So
I've got to thank Dr. Russolo back at Taylor University. Dr. Russolo, she taught me so much about journalism and thinking and writing and just to challenge whatever it is that you read with your thought process, or like Keith was talking about, reading the New York Times, just to get a different point of view. And on the stock market, the thing I love about it is, like, I don't watch any of those stock shows anymore. I haven't done that for a long time. I do pay attention to a couple stock people and subscribe to their newsletters and stuff. But the best thing about the stock market is, if you just look at the price and the volume, the supply and the demand, it tells the whole story. I mean, we could make a big to-do about it, and we could say, hey, this is our opinion of what we think could happen, but the market just doesn't care what our opinions are. And so just listening and paying attention to the supply and the volume and the demand of the stock market, that's the real story.
yeah,
Is anybody talking about that today? Has anybody ever talked about that?
supply and demand.
Of the stock market?
Well, I probably beat this horse to death. That my first day of straight commission was the day after the crash in 1987, and I was kind of traumatized as a youngster. And to this day, I only know one reason why the market crashed in 1987.
I'm going to say more sellers.
Exactly. The news came up with all kinds of ideas and opinions, but at the end of the day, it's either you have more buyers or sellers. And if you run an asset value up, you have an idea called the greater fool theory. And the greater fool is the person that pushes it up to the highest price ever.
Yeah.
And a
That's true in every market. Like, I get a lot of questions about gold right now, and I don't know if the AM radio guys are still around, if they're talking about gold, or maybe the news channels are talking about gold.
podcasts are. I hear
Podcasts are. I
are.
know you can buy gold at Costco now, and so it's like the thing. But I hear this about gold all the time. And don't get me wrong, I like gold. I like gold when it's going up. But to just say there's always going to be a time for this, or there's always going to be a time for farmland, or whatever the market is, there's just, where are the sellers? Where are the buyers?
Absolutely. And this is one of my favorite pictures here. If I was going to show you some artwork,
Oh
I'm
man,
not
that's a
recommending
that's a
this.
great
But
story.
the idea of the greater fool theory is, on this day, on some day, right? I'd have to go back and look at it, but sometime in March of 2000,
Yeah.
Cisco Systems, you can see it right there. It says the high is $82 a share.
And,
March of 2000.
and look at that. In that month, that's a monthly chart, right? Yeah. In that month, it went up, was it 16%?
11. Oh no, yeah, 16.97, yeah,
I mean,
17%.
what a heck of a month.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you just go over here just a year or so, it was trading at a high of $9 a share, and
And so you may not get the high,
yeah.
but even if you had some stops in there, you did fantastic.
I mean, when these sellers started selling over here,
Get the heck out.
they were coming on fast and furious.
Yeah.
And so basically, the greatest fool, there is a human out there that paid $82 a share for Cisco Systems, and the closest you would have got was in December of 2021. It traded for $64.29. Somebody paid. There was a greatest fool that paid
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and then the highest it's been since then was $58. And so,
And I've been that fool. And the best thing you can do when you're that fool is admit it when it starts going the other way and
While we're
say
doing true
bye
confessions,
bye.
I kept one share of this to remind me of this market.
Did you really?
I have a share of this. They send me a,
That's awesome.
I don't know, let's see.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I own one share of this. They send me a 22-cent dividend every quarter.
How come you have not gone to their annual meeting, Keith? Come on,
Yeah,
you need to go to their
I
annual.
don't know what price I bought it.
How cool would that be?
Well, they're getting bought out by Hewlett Packard, so I'd have to go to HP, but it peaked out at 244.50 in that. Well, it didn't even peak until the end of the year. It peaked out at Halloween time frame that year.
Yeah.
But Juniper Networks hadn't even come close. And again, you can see over here that it's being bought out by where's the announcement? Somewhere over here, Hewlett Packard. Here it is. Right here.
Yeah.
It was trading at 30 and evidently Hewlett
It like
Packard's
that.
offering
It
40.
like that.
Yeah.
If you love business, if you like business, you can't help but like the stock market. I mean, you can be in Juniper Networks or in technology one day, and then you could be in, you pick, Keith, automotive parts the next. I mean, it's amazing how you can be a business person and be involved in so many different types of industries.
I think Brian Hour is the one that helped me see that the
Yeah, he helped
best.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian is a friend of ours. He's been a friend for 20 plus years, and he uh, he kind of had the fortune of owning Icy Hot.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the story is unbelievable.
It's a great story.
And he was able to sell that in the 1970s and do really well with that. But then he didn't really have any money after that because he just didn't. And he just felt like he was going to get wealthy again. And he did it in the stock market after many years of not being very good at it. But
Yeah.
he just said the beauty of the stock market is if I'm in pharmaceuticals today and pharmaceuticals go out of favor, I don't have to keep trying to make pharmaceuticals work. I can shift over to gold and silver or whatever. Whereas if you're in, say you're in a automotive business, a repairs business, and for some reason it's out of favor,
Yeah.
it's going to struggle. It's going to wear and tear on you, and you're stuck there until you do something different.
I wouldn't want to be the last guy holding the Pizza Huts or,
Oh,
or something like,
the one that this week I was reading last night. Raise your hand out there if you buy Subway sandwiches.
Oh man, my dad, he lived off a turkey sub
At Subway.
at Subway for like I don't know how many years. A
Yeah.
lot of miles with turkeys.
I see a hand raised out there. I love
Okay, I like that.
it.
Lunch is on, Keith.
We were having dinner to celebrate. Somebody in our family got older this week. I'm not mentioning names, but we were at the Outback Steakhouse, and we're looking. I remember when you had to wait an hour to go to the Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah.
And I was telling my kids, I was like,
You better use those gift cards now.
this could be our last Outback. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news to you Subway fans out there, but Subway is having an emergency meeting with their franchise holders to figure out what to do with that. I wouldn't want to be a franchise holder of that. But the beauty of capitalism versus those who disagree with us, the people that not many freaks have the Communist Manifesto sitting around, but the beauty of capitalism is it empowers you.
Yeah.
Socialism and communism tries to take that away from you. And the beauty of capitalism is Subway can last or Outback can last until they don't keep up with the demands of people. And then they're replaced. But if you go to a socialist or capitalist or a socialist or a communist country, my guess is you're not going to find quite the quality of meals that you might find in some place that motivates people to keep innovating and creating better and better selections for the customer.
Man, we've really covered artists today. Subway, sandwich artist, all the way back to Picasso.
Man, I'm excited about what that even looks like going forward. Yeah. Well, Doug, we have covered a lot of ground. I really appreciate all our friends joining us today. And next week, I think we'll have another great show. I don't have anything else I need to cover today. How about you?
Hey, it's still summertime. Enjoy summertime, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon.
All right. Have a great weekend, friends.